I will now call to order the November 11th, 2014 meeting of the Traffic Review Advisory Board. Good afternoon and welcome. The Traffic Review Advisory Board reviews items of interest regarding parking and traffic within the city of Oshkosh. We are an advisory board and our favorable recommendations today will go before the Oshkosh Common Council. The council can accept or reject any recommendation from this board. If the board does not recommend an item and you don't agree with our decision, you may discuss the item with any common council member, and the council member may sponsor new ordinance regarding the item. All items recommended by this board require 2 readings before the common council. The first reading will take place on Tuesday, November 25th, 2014 at 6 p.m., and you will be allowed to comment on the item at that time, though the council will take no action. On Tuesday, December 9th, 2014, the item will be on a second reading, at which time the council will take action. You will again be allowed to speak to the item. For this afternoon's meeting, I will read each agenda item, at which time, if you would like to speak, please step up to the podium, give your name and address. I do ask that you keep your comments pertinent to the agenda item you are speaking to. The item will then come back to the board for discussion and action. The first item is approval of September's minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Becker?
Aye.
Haas?
Aye.
Szynski?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
Schuster?
Aye.
Carried 6-0.
All right. New business. A request for a yield sign on Dove Street at Coolidge Avenue. The current condition is an uncontrolled intersection.
The resident that called to request this lives on the corner of this intersection. And there are, if you're familiar with that neighborhood, there are yield signs on just about every block. I guess they've been there for a while. I'm not sure exactly why, but there are. This street, so the yield signs are mostly on Dove, but on this particular intersection, the yield sign is on Coolidge. So generally when we look at yield signs, he was concerned with speeding, but the manual on uniform traffic control devices clearly states that yield and stop signs are not to be used for speed control. And then there's some warrants that have to be met for crashes reported, the number of vehicles per day, and sight distance, and none of those conditions are present here. The only thing the reason why I believe it's on Coolidge is I think it kind of breaks it up, because you're going block to block, it's yield sign, yield sign, yield sign, and it breaks it up a little bit. So given that it doesn't meet the warrants, there's a lack of crash history, low traffic volume, and lack of sight distance there, I would recommend against that.
Especially when your data says there's only one accident from 2002 to 2013. That there's no sense moving any signs for anything, so. Second.
Becker?
Aye. I'm sorry. Nay. Need more coffee.
Haas?
Nay.
Szynski?
Nay.
Herman?
Nay.
Schuster?
No.
Lost 0-6.
Item 2, a request for 30-minute parking on Commerce Street, west side, from 50 feet north of CP Avenue to 72 feet north of CP Avenue, and from 180 feet north of CP Avenue to 202 feet north of CP Avenue. Current condition is a loading zone.
This is a request from the owners of City Center. Basically, there's 2 areas there that used to be a loading zone for the Morton Pharmacy, which is no longer there. So they're asking that we bring that into 30-minute parking, which would be consistent with the rest of that side of the street. It's basically in front of Carmel Crisp there.
Okay.
Which, since we don't have the pharmacy, I don't see any reason not to do that. I asked them if they had anybody making deliveries or anything like that, and they don't in that area.
I was wondering about that street myself. I go to the ground round a lot, and a lot of times, like after 8 o'clock at night, and like all that parking is wide open, but it's the short time limit. I was wondering if you could have like a longer time after like 8 o'clock or a certain hour. I don't know what time the city center mainly is operating, but it's like I said, every time I go there, like the whole thing's wide open.
That side of the street,
Yeah, the other side is well, that whole area, but like I said, you can't really park there if you're planning on getting dinner.
Right. I don't know what time like Carmel Crisp or any of those businesses are open till. That's mainly what it's for, is the businesses there to have that shorter time frame so people can come and go.
Well, I mean, you've got to take that into consideration. I would assume that's going to be an enforcement nightmare. 30 minutes up until X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
Unlimited after, so.
Does the city control the parking west of Commerce? Is that city center?
That small parking lot by Planet Perk in it?
Like just adjacent to the parking ramp.
Yeah, that's city center.
It says city center, but I didn't know if like it was like in conjunction with the city.
Oh, the only thing the city owns is the parking ramp itself. Everything else that's on the inner part of the city center is all city center.
Like I said, like a lot of times I go to the ground round after 8, and you got all this parking wide open, but you can't use any of it.
Yeah.
It's kind of frustrating. You got to park further away.
Well, if you park along the Riverwalk, all those parking stalls facing the Riverwalk are open to public parking. The other side to the north would be all city center parking control.
So yeah, this is basically. So it's basically here in front of Carmel Crisp, the loading zone's down here by the corner by the stop sign, and then right in the middle.
Yeah, I noticed that one loading zone. That seemed like kind of an odd place for a loading zone. So.
Yeah. Yeah, the one in the middle is kind of odd.
And that's consistent with the other parking in the general area?
Yeah, the 30-minute is.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not trying to make a big deal out of it. It's kind of frustrating. You got like a million parking places and you can't use any of them.
Yeah, I know that we've addressed the parking down in this area in the past, and it's been a burden to, I know, Shonda at Carmel Crisp, with her being able to get her delivery vehicle to load up and make deliveries and stuff. And I know at one point the loading zone in front of her place was there specifically for her. But like, the other two, now that Morton's gone, I think that we should just be consistent all the way down the street and make it all 30-minute.
Let's move it.
Second.
Becker?
Aye.
Haas?
Aye.
Szynski?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
Schuster?
Aye.
Carried. 5-0.
Item number 3, a request for a stop sign on Wisconsin Street at Lincoln Avenue. Current condition, uncontrolled.
This is a citizen request from the owners of the laundromat. They called and said that they've seen quite a few close calls at that intersection. It's in the campus area there. There are stop signs on Lincoln, and then there's no parking basically on the corners there. So there really hasn't been an accident history there. There was one accident this year, but that was backing out of a driveway. There were none in 2013 and 2 in 2012. The other warrants would be sight distance, but since we have no parking pretty much at all those corners, there's not really a sight distance problem. And then it's looking at how many vehicles per day enter the intersection. It does meet that warrant, but considering that we don't really have a safety problem there and the or sight distance problem, I don't think traffic's moving through there real fast either. So I would recommend against that. Are you here to speak on that? Yeah, I don't know, Terry, if he wants to.
Yeah, if you want to step up to the podium, give us your name and address, and you can tell us what you think.
My name is Mike Waterstreet. My parents own that laundromat there, and I work there every day from 9 to 4. So, yeah, I've seen a lot of close calls. You know, not too many accidents, maybe like 2 or 3, like you said. A lot of them are very close, though. You know, skidding tires probably once a week, I hear. I do have, kid almost got hit, like he was a foot away from being hit the other day on his bike. But basically, the stops are, our building, you probably don't have a picture of that, but, or do you? Our building's kind of grandfathered in on that corner, so there's no boulevard there really. There's just the building goes right up to the sidewalk. So, and then the stop sign's kind of recessed back, like, it's kind of recessed back probably about, 6 feet. So you can't see when you stop at the stop sign. You need to make a second stop. You stop, and then but how many college kids do that, and people even know to do that? Sometimes they just gun it. Like a lot of times they'll just stop at the stop sign, and then they don't see cars coming. And between Irving there's a stop sign in New York, I believe, yeah. So people gain a lot of speed during that. Yeah, you can see how close our building comes to the corner there. And as Jim was saying, there is no parking on those corners. But, in the winter, all that's covered up, that yellow's covered up, that's sprayed there. And those cars go right up to the stop sign parking even. And then right by that telephone pole, they park there. They get ticketed a lot of times, but they're still parked there. And then people just can't see from all 4 directions because there's so many college kids parking there. Because there's limited space during the winter for parking. They're all parked on all 4 corners, so it's all cars, and it's very hard to see over the cars, too, cars coming. So I just see a lot of close calls, and it scares me. I think someone's going to really get hurt one of these days, like actually hit. And one of my employees got hit actually on the next intersection down on Cherry and Lincoln. Is very dangerous, too, I believe. They got a stop sign on just one stop sign, but she got hit because she had her headphones in, of course, and didn't look both ways. But a lot of students going up and down the street are coming from class, they have their headphones in. A lot of them don't look both ways because they believe they have the right of way. Because on campus they have that because there's crosswalks and stuff, but there's no crosswalks on this corner or on that Cherry one either. So it's just, I don't know. I just wanted that's why I called, because I just felt it was my duty just to say something that, so if something did happen, I didn't feel guilty. I just practicing a little foreseeability there on that. And that's pretty much all I had to say about it, unless you guys had any questions about it.
There's no painted crosswalk there? It's hard to tell.
Yeah, there's no crosswalk there at all. So, yesterday I saw probably like four or five people waiting there for, like a minute, just waiting for the cars to go by. And I was actually leaving, so I'm the one that actually stopped and let them to go through. But, yeah,
So do you think it's people that are coming down Lincoln is that more of an issue? So
they're usually they're coming down Lincoln most of the time alongside our building there, and they stop at the stop sign. I don't know if you guys can see the stop. You can see the stop sign, but they stop, but then they don't stop again. They just gun it because they don't see. You cannot see. You can see about half of our building down the street, which isn't very far. And when people are picking up speed from that Irving stop sign, and the cops always stay on this intersection. They just did a speed trap there like 2 days ago. They're always watching cars speeding right through that intersection because they pick up speed. But yeah, a lot of people just gun it right there, and if one or the other person's not paying attention, someone's going to get nailed one of these times. It's usually one person stops before the other person. But
Instead of putting a stop sign in there, do you think this warrants maybe like a traffic calming if we put crosswalk in there on Wisconsin with a pedestrian sign that would, because I know that's a pretty high residential area for college students. That might kind of give because I'm sure that the reason that hasn't been a four-way stop is just because of the stop at Irving and,
Yeah.
And there's a queuing distance with the volume, I think, might be a potential problem, too.
yeah. So I don't know if that would warrant, because the traffic is there obviously during the college time. Maybe painting a crosswalk with a
Across
pedestrian sign.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, I don't know if that, what the requirements are for that, but we've talked in other areas of traffic calming situations that warrant.
Yeah, generally for the crosswalks, the main warrant is the volume of pedestrian traffic,
Okay.
but, I mean, they leave you discretion with that, too.
At the very least, if we've got a beacon that we can put in the roadway there, does that actually have to be in a crosswalk to have it put out?
You mean like one of those they put in the middle of
Yeah,
the
with the
road?
flash on top.
Yeah. I can look into that.
And that may be something during the high volume times of the campus is letting, classes are out, and then maybe a CSO could even put, yield to pedestrians or something.
Is there no parking here to corner sign? Or
Yeah, yeah, there's one like right on the, it's
Yeah, it looks
easier to see on the computer, but it's right here.
Yeah,
There's one here, and then there's,
one on the other side.
yeah,
Yeah,
one right here.
okay.
And I did have them update the yellow paint, so.
you guys did that recently, huh? Because
Yeah.
'cause I thought it looked newer. But yeah, that works. It's working pretty good, I thought, right now. It's just when the snow covers it is when it doesn't work. It is good.
Yeah, it's a big problem all over the city when snow starts piling up.
So what I could do is, the problem with putting the flasher out there, the sign with the flashers, I don't know. Basically, I would assume like the college schedule kids are coming and going all day. So I don't
Yeah.
know, how would you determine when to put it out and take it? It's not like, the elementary or high school where we have a set schedule. But I can definitely look into if we could paint a crosswalk across Wisconsin. I can look into that. It might be tough to get that done yet this year, but I can look into.
Had warning signs in stock somewhere, too? I mean, 2 signs, one
Like
each
the
direction.
pedestrian crossing.
Maybe even put them on the same sign that the no parking's on already. I don't know. One has to be higher than the other, or how that requirements are for those. I'm sure there's a height requirement,
Yep.
but that might help. Because like I say, I've gone by there too, and there are a lot of students that live in that general area, and a lot of traffic in there.
Yeah, it does
Schools
get
in
congested.
session.
So I'll look into the crosswalk and I can report back on that in the next meeting.
We have to act on the request itself, so.
Move.
Second.
Becker?
No.
Oz?
No.
Szynski?
No.
Herman?
No?
Schuster?
No.
05.
Item 4, a request for 30-minute parking on Campus Place, north side. Current conditions, no parking from Wisconsin Street to 326 feet east of Wisconsin Street.
Okay, this, Mr. Szynski asked about this at the last meeting. I did look into this, and I can pull the map up in a minute. But this is a short block with a dead end at Wisconsin on one end and Dawes on the other end. I did some research into this because it looked like that the no parking, or the parking was removed on fairly recently on the south side of that I don't know, maybe some of you were here for that. But in looking at that, it was removed due to a police department request. And it was because of the bars in the area and the number of students that were there at night. And they were having a number of calls to that area, and they were having trouble getting their vehicles, emergency vehicles, into the area. So they asked that the parking be removed. Now this is on the the north side of the street. However, I did talk to the police department about that as well, and they had some concerns. They said there's a lot of pedestrian traffic there, and they thought parked vehicles would create more of a hazard for the pedestrians in the area and a potential for accidents there. They also mentioned that enforcement of it would be difficult during the night, to have an officer available to mark tires or do some type of enforcement. And they thought there was enough parking there. The other thing I looked at is there's really not a whole lot of room for cars. You could probably, you could park maybe 4 or 5 cars there, but then it's right by the driveway entrances and exits. So then I was thinking too, you might create a site problem. So based on that, I would recommend against that.
Yeah, I think the last time we discussed this, somebody wanted to be able to utilize a food truck or something down there, and with all these driveways being so close to one another, one of our concerns at that time was the site distance, and the fact that you're only gonna, if you allow parking, you're only gonna pick up a couple spots, and my opinion is there's adequate off-street parking. You got to remember it's a campus area, so things do get busy, and parking becomes luck of the draw, I guess. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I just brought it up because, like, a lot of times I go there, like, like right around the dinner hour, 6 o'clock-ish, and you can't find a parking space in that big lot by, like, Toppers or Bert and Gerber, et cetera, there. And,
Anything down in that area is,
a lot of the problem is, like, there's a lot of, like, transient vehicles that, don't appear to be patronizing any of the businesses at that time, but I mean, that's obviously not a city enforcement because it's a private parking lot. And then there's so many, like each restaurant has about 5 delivery vehicles, so like that takes up all the parking as well.
Move. Second.
Who's second?
I did.
Okay. That's okay. Becker.
Nope.
Oz.
No.
Szynski.
No.
Herman.
No.
Schuster.
No.
Lost. 505.
Okay, item number 5, discussion of the proposed bike lane restriction ordinance and amended inline skate ordinance. The current condition is there's no formal bicycle lane restrictions, and inline skaters to stay on the right side of the road.
Okay, this is something that came up as the city attorney was helping me with our bike lane ordinances, and currently we don't have a bike lane ordinance or anything that says who can use the bike lane. And with our bike and pedestrian plan, we foresee obviously we're going to have more bike lanes as we implement that plan, so we thought we needed to visit this and get something formal in place. With our bike lanes on Sawyer, even the police department was a little confused about what we allow and don't allow. So the city attorney helped draft this, and basically I think we need to do this, but then there's a couple pieces that we wanted some input on. As far as the bike lanes are obviously for bicycles, that makes sense. And we do have an inline skating ordinance, which says their inline skates are to stay to the right of the road. So I think it makes sense to obviously allow bicycle lanes in the bike lane. And then inline skates as well, and then we would draft the bike lane ordinance, which would be new, and then we would modify the inline skating ordinance, saying that they could stay as close to the right hand of the curb as possible, except if it has a bicycle lane, then they would be allowed to use the designated bicycle lane. So I think those two are pretty straightforward. The piece that we wanted some input on is the personal assistive mobility devices. We looked up the ordinance, and Lynn had another meeting, but she gave me the ordinance, and basically under statute we have the authority to either allow them or not allow them on the bike lanes and on the sidewalks. We don't currently have an ordinance in any regard to where you can operate them. I mean, I've seen them on the street. So kind of wondering what we should do there.
Well, I think in most cases, they ride the sidewalk weather permitting, and in the winter, when the sidewalks don't get all shoveled, that's when they shoot out to the street. So, yeah, I think some kind of consistency would be good. Did you get any input from the police department to whether they're concerned about having them out in the roadway?
Yeah, they seem to be okay with it on the bike lanes too. The only concern I have I think it'd be fine in the bike lanes, similar to bicycle. I think you can get up to like 15 miles per hour on some of them. That would be my only concern.
My other concern would be let's just say they're going down a bike lane, all of a sudden they go, oh, that's where I got to go. Are they going to scoot out into traffic instead of being at an intersection where they should be crossing with the motorized scooters?
Right.
I don't want to muddy the ordinance by any means, but maybe if we do allow it, that they have to leave the bike lane from a designated pedestrian crossing or something like that. So, I mean, bikers can do the same thing, and they have to abide by, but there's state statute that controls bikes.
Right, yep, they have to operate as a vehicle, just
Yeah.
like and follow all the other rules.
But
Yep.
are you aware, Dan, are the mobility devices in the same category? Are they required to?
They're in the same category, but my reservation is they're not equipped like a bicycle is with reflectors and lights. There's my concern, because on an afternoon like this, that's a problem.
I'm really uneasy about designating the bicycle lanes for mobility devices, because
Yeah.
then the next thing you're going to have is you're going to have people out there on their Segways, and I know Segways aren't real popular in Oshkosh right now, but
Yeah.
it's just a matter of time, and you're going to have those people tearing up and down. I would like to see the personal mobility devices to be
Sidewalk.
relegated to the sidewalk. Yeah, I think that's the safest place for them.
It's a safety issue.
Yeah, and a lot of these, people that are operating, don't have very good motor skills, and I would just hate to see them on the street and hit their little joystick the wrong way for just a split second, and then you have a disaster. And I don't want to see that.
I agree with that.
I did have one other question for you, Jim, and it actually relates to what's on page 4. It says, no person shall use roller skates, skateboards, or any other play vehicle within the designated bicycle lane. Is there ordinance in place to keep them out of the roadway to begin with?
Yes, that is currently in our ordinance, and the reason for that is they're not attached to your body that's why the inline skates, that's why they allow those, because they're attached to your body. Like
Right.
a skateboard, they're worried about it, getting out of control.
So is what's on page 4 actually currently in ordinance, or is that?
Yes, that is, although the inline skating part of it, we added to that, except if the roadway has a designated bicycle lane. And then persons using inline skates shall use a designated bicycle lane in that roadway.
Are roller skates attached to your?
Yeah, I was just thinking that myself. That's a little interesting why we have that. I would think we should probably include roller skates in with inline skates.
Example, I was actually in front of North High School on Saturday morning. There were three young gentlemen skateboarding down Smith. going back and forth between the two curbs. That's a dangerous recipe at that point. Again, I don't know what can be done about it sitting right here today, but skateboards don't have a place in the street.
Yeah, and that all comes down to enforcement too. And
Well, it does, but at least if we give them the tool here to.
Well, there's a lot of things out there that it makes your head spin. I mean, the other day I can't remember what intersection I was at, and there was a young girl flying down the sidewalk on her bicycle, and somebody was getting ready to pull out and turn, and she slammed on her brakes and started yelling at the driver, "You have to yield to pedestrians." I'm like, no, you're on a bicycle. You're supposed to be on the street obeying the traffic laws.
Right.
You're not a pedestrian when you're on it. And there's a lot of confusion. Even with that, people think that because they're they're on the sidewalk and going through a crosswalk, that regardless of what they may be riding or whatever, that I think it's just a matter of education and enforcement on a lot of that stuff.
Let me clarify, though. I think you were asking if this exactly is in the ordinance. This isn't, because we don't have a bicycle lane ordinance.
Okay.
It is in the ordinance where it says that no person shall use roller skates, skateboards, or any other play vehicle, and I think it says within the roadway currently or something like that.
Okay.
This would be
So-
new.
Okay, so this is just a restatement in a different
Right.
ordinance.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I just didn't want to make sure there wasn't competing messages ultimately.
I brought it up here before too. Seems to be a lack of enforcement on the bicycles when on the one-way streets. Like, they're not using the bike lane, they're coming right towards you in the traffic lane, like on high, and sometimes they just dart out at you and you don't really have anywhere to go, except slam on the brakes,
Yeah, I think that's still an education issue with the bike lanes. They're still fairly new in Oshkosh, and I think I think we need to educate people a little better on how to use them.
Would it-
The
would it
college
make
could
s-
send an email out to.
Well, would it make sense to, again, I know we've used the city's webpage on a few
Sure.
occasions. At least one or two short videos on bike lanes. I actually saw a few of them in the last couple of weeks. Wisconsin Bike Federation.
Okay.
Get you contact info on that.
Yeah, that'd be great. We can do that.
They came up and did a presentation actually twice in the last couple months here in Oshkosh for various groups.
So you're going to make one change to the proposed recommended approval, or?
Yes, I guess what we'd be looking for then is a motion to accept this with the change of omitting the personal assisted mobility devices. And so and then the
Roller skates?
roller skates should probably go in with the inline skates.
Okay.
As long as they're attached to your body.
Well, I'll move it with those recommendations.
Second.
Becker?
Aye.
Oz? Szynski?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
Schuster?
Aye.
Carried, 5-0.
And now we got to vote on the amended.
Correct.
I'll move it.
Second.
Becker?
Aye.
Oz?
Aye.
Szynski?
Aye.
Herman?
Aye.
Schuster?
Aye.
Carried, 5-0.
Okay, that looks like about it. Any other discussion or statements or?
I had one staff statement that came up after we got the agenda together, but I think Mr. Herman's aware of it from being on the council because his manager put it on his city manager report. But in regards to we've discussed that the hybrid beacon on High Avenue. So the latest update on that is the university being back in session, and the students CLO is under construction, so where the beacon currently is even more difficult to get to. So they're crossing at the location where we want to move, or they want to move the beacon to. So they asked if we could paint a crosswalk there temporarily, with the commitment that the beacon will be moved in the spring. So we did that for them And then in the spring, they're going to work with us on moving that beacon to the new location. So just in case you're wondering why there's two crosswalks so close to each other, that's,
I noticed that it was
That's
painted
why.
the other day when I went through there.
yeah.
And nobody hardly used it when it was for the construction there and all. Like I said, you don't see anybody using it.
I think after the building got open and they saw the traffic, they probably should have waited on the beacon to know where it really should go after all the kids
Yeah.
made their changes.
Choice.
But
So they're going to pay most of the costs of moving it, but by the time everybody had made their decision and they told us, what they wanted to do and who was going to pay for it, then it was so late that we couldn't get it done anymore this year. So, and now with school in session 2, it'd be really hard to close that for a period of time. So that's why eventually we told them they need to remove the original crosswalk and restore the curb for ADA issues so that there's only one crossing. But we thought that was a temporary solution to make it a little bit safer.
Yeah, I think people were stopping in that area anyway because so many kids were crossing there. Like I said, I'd stop at the beacon, then you got a few feet down and like 98% of the people are walking there, so you're just naturally going to stop for them.
And then the only other thing that has come up recently, and I was just going to, if anybody else has noticed it, I haven't yet, is somebody called and said that traffic going east on Merritt's backing up because with Skis, the new meat market there, I guess they were getting a lot of traffic after work. So I don't know if it's related to that or if it's just the time in the day.
There's a lot of traffic, and when we restored that left turn there, it just threw a wrench into everything because you get one car, it holds up 20 cars behind it. And after you get westbound traffic, after they clear a train, and everybody been backed up for 10 minutes waiting for a train, and you got that one car that wants to make the left turn on the main street, and I get stuck in it almost every day.
And now that, I voted against changing it back, but now with the meat market there, it might be worth a review again, even though we just recently reviewed it. At the time, that meat market wasn't, and grocery store wasn't.
Yeah,
planned,
because I mean they've got
wasn't there. They have their own parking lot.
They have their own parking
They have
lot.
to come out on Jefferson, and then they go
Yeah.
towards Maine. That, like you say, that adds
Yeah,
to the whole traffic flow.
Yeah.
So that might make a difference to prevent the left turn traffic now.
Yeah, I think this person was talking about turning into the parking lot off of Merritt, but I think that would
It is tough.
probably should investigate both.
Because the one entrance that they have off of Merritt is closer to Jefferson Street, and if you get traffic backed up, then all of a sudden you got that eastbound car, and then you got cars stacking up behind that and out into Main Street. And with Jefferson being a one-way, there's not much you can do if you're coming from that direction. You got to use that Merritt Avenue entrance. And so there's just some logistical problems down in that little corner down there.
Is there any requirement of how many cars are kind of technically make it through an intersection at a designated time? Would it make more sense to leave the light on a little longer on, say, Merritt?
Sure. I'm not aware of any.
I know there was some
Tax
discussion when we
requirements,
had that about, making a designated arrow for a short period of time to clear that traffic a little bit. I don't know. There isn't that much. It doesn't seem to be that there's a ton of eastbound traffic coming across the intersection. So I don't know if a designated, delayed light would allow that to clear out a little bit, because then you could get that one or two cars that want to turn left out of there, and then the rest of the traffic would continue to move on.
You're saying a delayed light then going.
Basically going east, so that the left-hand turn car and the traffic coming at them aren't at the same time, delayed light.
Right.
Wouldn't
Okay.
even have to be a designated arrow if it was a delayed.
Yeah,
Stoplight.
have it more controlled, like it's 3 different intersections basically, or 2 different intersections. Give the eastbound Church Ave traffic a green light, and
Sooner
then,
than the.
yeah, and then rotate it, and then give Merritt Ave their light that allows them to go straight, turn right, turn left. Yeah, it's just an odd configured intersection, and yeah, I drive in cities that have intersections like that, and they do control them separately to let everything bleed off. So
Okay. Well, I'll talk with our electrical supervisor and see what we can do.
That might be all we have to do to change that a little bit, is because like Dan said, there's usually only one or two cars at a time that want to turn left. So if they have the opportunity to go a little bit before everybody else, boom, they'll clear that
Yeah,
intersection.
that frees it up for the people
Right.
making the left turn.
Right.
I know what the main concern is going to be, that we try to coordinate the lights throughout a corridor. So that's going to be the concern.
Yeah.
I don't think it will be so much on Meriden Church, but on Main Street. 'Cause
Oh, yeah,
we
that-
have those kind of coordinated,
Right,
so they all
right.
hit about the same time.
Totally agree.
That would be, but I'll investigate it for the next meeting. That's all I have.
Motion to adjourn?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Painless.